All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video here for you. Again, as always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channels. I really appreciate it. The feedback that I get from you guys, man, I love it. It's great. I get a lot out of the comments. When you guys drop knowledge on me and stuff like that, yeah, keep it up, keep it coming. I feel like we're all in this together, so to speak. We're the anti-mainstream media. You got morons on there. I know Nick Wright is somehow trying to belittle the '92 Dream Team. I mean, and Uncut Hoops did a really good video on it. A couple other people have touched on it. I mean, it's just insane when what these people will stoop to. And what's even the point of it? It's because they were labeled the Dream Team, the best team ever assembled, and we cannot have that because that's outside my era growing up, so we've got to tear it down. I didn't see it with my own eyes, so it's got to be junk. It has to be. That's the mentality of these people today. They're just frauds. They're weak. And how they're even on TV. Why people even watch them, I have no idea. I never even would have known about it if it wasn't for people like Uncut Hoops or Dreamers Pro. I wouldn't even know about it. I find out what's going on through them because I can't stomach that idiot Nick Wright anymore. Never gets pushed back. My biggest issue, that guy, I don't even know his name. I think it's Wiles or something. He's like the host. Broussard is just beyond anything. I mean, that guy he's a joke. We all know he's a LeBron guy. They mask around that number 2 thing, but he's a hardcore LeBron guy. Hardcore Steph Curry guy. He values winning on one hand, but then a guy like LeBron James, who has only 4 championships in 21 years, suddenly he's the number 2. Like, I don't get it. He's like, oh, winning. Always talk about value of winning, impact on winning. But then a guy who's only won 4 championships in 21 years, less than once every 5 years, that's not taken into consideration? I mean, these people are just ridiculous. They're trendies. They're fair weather people. They tell you what they think you want to hear. That's just how it is. Why platforms on YouTube even exist is because people have been sick and tired of the mainstream media. I mean, look at Skip Bayless. He used to bash the hell out of LeBron James. Does he do it anymore? No, he doesn't do it at all. Now, LeBron James is the best ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, wow. Like, it was probably in his contract, do not criticize LeBron James. I mean, it's the power that this Clutch Sports has. How they were even allowed to get this power is beyond anything. In this video here, enough of my rambling, I'm going to talk about making the playoffs. This is another criteria I use, an important one in my mind. And I'm going to show how some people have gotten a pass over the years. Hold on. All right, so yeah, missing the playoffs, making the playoffs. Important aspect, don't you think? I don't want to hear about teammates. I don't want to hear about competition. If you're an all-time great, you're a top 25 all-time player, you need to be making the playoffs at a pretty regular basis. Maybe you get a pass because you came to the league, you were like 19, or maybe you had a really rough division or something. Okay, I could see that. But for the most part, you need to be making the playoffs. So, of the 35 players that I've been mentioning, I'll go over them again, but there's players that made the playoffs every year of their career. I think there's about 12 of them. Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Bob Cousy, Dolph Schayes, George Mikan, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Dr. J, John Stockton, and Karl Malone. Those players made the playoffs every year of their career. Shaq made it 94.7% of the time. Wilt was 92.8%. David Robinson, 92.3%. Kareem, 90% of the time. I think that was 18 out of 20 years. Hakeem Olajuwon, 88.2. Oh, I failed to mention, I did it if a player played over 50 games. If they didn't, I didn't count it. Unless they made the playoffs, then I counted. But if they didn't, I didn't hold it against them. And for those of you who think that I'm biased towards Michael Jordan, well, I could have did like 65 games or something and scrapped his 2002 season, but I didn't do that. You know, I held it against Jordan, even at his age, whatever, make the playoffs. Even with the massive injury he had, I still held it against him. Kevin Durant was his 87.5. He definitely had some injury-riddled seasons, a couple that I just didn't count them. Of course not. Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, 86.67% of the time. Kobe, 83.3. He had some injury-riddled seasons, especially at the end. Bob Pettit, 81.8. Dwayne Wade, 81.25. So now we're in the bottom third of these players. LeBron James, 80.9. He's in the bottom third. Rick Barry, 76.9. Dirk Nowitzki, 75%. Kevin Garnett, 73.6. Giannis, 72.7. Moses Malone, 72.2. Oscar Robertson, 71.4. Isiah Thomas and Steph Curry, 69.2. Jokic, 66.67. And Elvin Hayes was the worst one on this list. What's funny about that is I did one yesterday about durability. Elvin Hayes was at the top, and he's at the very bottom, 62.5%, making the playoffs. Now, these players here, of the bottom four, is Isiah Thomas, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and Elvin Hayes. What I find interesting is, I don't know how these guys missed the playoffs like they did. Isiah, for example, he comes in as a rookie. He's got Kelly Tripucka on his team, averaging 21.6 points a game. John Long, 21.9 points a game. Okay, let's look at competition. There were 3 teams in the East with over 44 wins. There was 7 in the West with over 44 wins. There were 3 teams with a losing record in the Central. I think there was 5 teams in the Central at that time. Maybe there were 6, but there was only 1 team over 42-40 in his division that they played 6 times a year. Just no excuse not to make the playoffs. That would have been his rookie year. In 1983, the next year, Kelly Tripucka averaged 26.5 points per game. Bill Laimbeer is now on the team, averaging 13.6 with 12.1 rebounds. He played all 82 games. Vinnie Johnson, 15.8 points per game, played all 82 games. Again, no excuse not to make the playoffs. 1994, I guess I probably counted that. I know he had some injuries later in the year, but he did play over 50 games. They were horrible. 93, they were 40-42. Now Isiah played, a lot of 78 games, but played full season. He was 31 to 32 years old. Isiah averaged 18 points and 8.5 assists, hardly washed up. On his team, you had Joe Dumars, who played 77 games at 23.5 points per game. Rodman did miss a quarter of the season, but he was giving you 18.3 rebounds a game. Bill Laimbeer was 35, Mark Aguirre 33, older. Not finished, but certainly older. The Central was soft, though. There was 5 of the 6 teams the Central was not great, but they were, decent. 5 of the 6 other teams besides Detroit were 500 or better. So maybe that explains a little bit of it, okay? And, injury to Rodman, whatever, okay, maybe. And they were close to making the playoffs, but missed it nonetheless. Steph Curry. He comes in as a rookie. This isn't a guy who's 19, 20. No. When he came in the league, he was 21 years, 7 months old. So this would have been the equivalent of somebody's senior year in college. His rookie year, he had Corey Maggette, got him 19.8 points per game, and he played 70-some games. Monty Ellis got him 25.5 points per game. Imagine having that as a rookie, and you didn't even make the playoffs. You had 2 guys, 19.8 and 25.5, and you didn't make the playoffs. Black mark right there. 2011. There was a guy named Dorell Wright. I sort of remember him. 16.4 points per game. Monty Ellis, 24.1 points per game. And then they acquired David Lee from the Knicks, who was an all-star the year before. 16.5 points, 9.8 rebounds. You got all that help and missed the playoffs. Uninterested. I don't want to hear excuses. Oh, the West was tough. No, you're supposed to be an all-time great. You get your team in the playoffs. And now you're 23 years old at this point. Don't want to hear it. All right, hold on a second. All right, yeah, so anyway, Steph Curry, people like Chris Broussard will overlook this stuff. I'm not overlooking it. You missed the playoffs in 2010 and 2011. You had good help on your team, not junk help. You know, you didn't have, the 85 Bulls that you got drafted to. You had good help on your team. Very good offensive help. I think defensively maybe they were a little lacking, but good enough. Now, 2021. Steph Curry, I think he missed like 19 games or whatever. But Andrew Wiggins was on that team, instrumental in the last championship in 2022. He averaged 18.6 points per game. Draymond Green played 63 games. He wasn't there all year, but he was there. They had Looney, they had Jordan Poole, missed the playoffs. This last year, 2024, now again, I don't really know that much about these guys. I had to look it up because I don't watch the modern NBA. Jonathan Kuminga, who people are thinking is going to ascend to be a really good player, well, he played 74 games, got you 16.1 points per game on 53% shooting. Good player. Klay Thompson. I don't know, the people talking about he's washed. He averaged 18 points a game on 38.7% three-point shooting. That's not washed. I mean, is that all-star level? No, but it's just below it. Andrew Wiggins played 71 games. Draymond Green got suspended and all that. He had played 55 games. Not the whole thing, but, enough. Chris Paul, 58 games. To me, that seems like enough help to get in the playoffs. I know they got to the play-in, I guess, and got beat, but whatever. That's 4 seasons you failed to make the playoffs out of, I think it was 13. That's about a third of the time. That's not good. Nikola Jokic, who I don't give a pass to either. I think, he's probably a great player. I've seen clips of him here and there, whatever. His stats are all good and everything. Although he was second in defensive win shares in the NBA, and he's never made even a second team all defense. That just does not make any sense to me. And that tells me right there that this new era is whacked. It's all whacked. The new era I consider to be from 2016 to now, and then of course next year and the years to follow until they fix the prima donna diva problem they have with the players. But a lot of that they created themselves by these massive contracts, the rules. Of course, that also is the other part of that it's just made the NBA unwatchable and a joke. Anyway, Nikola Jokic, when he first came in the league, his first 3 seasons, he did not make the playoffs. He was 20 years, 8 months old when he made his debut. Not a baby. I mean, yeah, he wasn't 23 years old or nothing like that, but he's not a baby. In his rookie year, there was 6 teams in the East with 48 or more wins. There was only 4 with 48 or more wins. In 2017, there was 9 teams in the East 500 or better. In the West, there was 8 teams 500 or better. So I don't want to hear about the West was so much better. No, it wasn't. 2018, the West was starting to get a little top heavy. They had some good teams, but the only really good team, they only had 2 teams with 50 plus wins in 2018. The East had 4. So again, no excuse. You're an all-time great. You're a top 15, 20, 25 player. You got to be making the playoffs at least 90% of the time. And Jokic, Steph Curry, and Isaiah, they didn't. Jokic, 66.67%. Now, I'm sure as time goes on, that number's going to change. But for Curry, it's not really going to change. It might change some, but assuming they even make the playoffs next year. They just lost Klay Thompson. And Isiah, definitely I hold that against him. But anyway, that's about it for this video. I don't know if people take this into account about just making the playoffs. To me, that's a big damn deal. And if you fail to make the playoffs, then you need to be considered, and in my estimation, held against you to some degree, depending on how bad. Like you need to be at least at 80%. At least 80% of the time, you're making the playoffs. Anything less than that, and you got to question how great the player really is. I know Steph Curry's got 4 championships. People are automatically want to put him in the top 10, but they're not looking at this, and they're also not looking at who they beat at the time they beat him with all the injuries. Every one of his championships had injury problems. Now, the other team, the competition, had injury problems. Now, the 2016 and the 2019, when they lost in the finals, you could maybe make an argument that they maybe should have won those because of the injuries that happened to them. So maybe, they probably should only have 2 championships, if we're being honest. Maybe in 2017, we'll never know, but I just know that the Spurs beat them 2 out of 3 in the regular season and was up by like 27 points in the third quarter until Kawhi Leonard got hurt. And they already didn't have Tony Parker. So anyway, I just hope people factor this stuff in. Don't do a Chris Broussard ring count. It's just ridiculous. It's stupid. It just lacks so much context. And that's what I'm trying to give, is context. So anyway, that's it, and thanks for watching.